Hi, I'm John Brandt. I'm CEO of the MPI Group, and today we're going to talk a little bit about next generation manufacturing, what's required for manufacturers to be successful in the year 2015 and beyond. More specifically, what I want to talk to you about is some research that we completed with manufacturing extension partnerships across the United States on what it takes to be successful as a manufacturer in the new global economy. Now, where are we at right now? Well, as Petra's already mentioned, we know that manufacturers are under an incredible amount of pressure right now from a wide array of factors. I think Petra's given us a pretty good picture of what's going on there. More specifically, what I want to talk about is what is it going to take, what's necessary to be competitive in 2015 and beyond. And based on the research that we've done with the manufacturing extension partnerships, we believe that there are 6 core strategies that manufacturers have to be good at if they're going to succeed in 2015 and in the decades after that. What are those 6 strategies? Well, let's go over them very quickly. First of all, number 1, I think, is customer-focused innovation. This is the ability of a manufacturer to develop, to make, and to produce new products quicker than the competition by doing this in a way where they are getting the needs directly from the customers and maybe from the customer's customers. Number 2, human capital. Is a company building an advantage by finding, hiring, recruiting, and probably just as important, maybe even more important, developing that talent over a period of time so that they've got a competitive advantage versus manufacturers not just locally but anywhere in the world. Number 3, superior processes and process improvement. What we mean by that is a company taking a very hard look at the way they do business, not just on their production floor, but in the way they develop new products, in the way that they go to market, in the way that they connect with customers, maybe even in customer service? Are they taking a hard look at how they do all those processes, taking waste out of those processes, improving them, creating more value for customers, and recording annual productivity gains, efficiency gains, and quality gains that are better than competitors anywhere in the world? Number 4, supply chain management. This is an area where a company really has an opportunity, if they're doing things in the right way, to take all the good things they're doing internally in terms of innovation, in terms of process improvement, and extend it beyond the walls of the enterprise into their entire supply chain. And when we talk about a supply chain, we're not just talking about people that they're buying or procuring raw materials or finished goods from. We're talking about the entire supply chain back to the start and then reaching out through customers. Some people call this value chain management, but the idea is, are you managing that entire string of companies, suppliers that go into satisfying an end customer in a way that creates a competitive advantage? And you can create competitive advantages with a supply chain in a variety of ways. One, you can just do it better. You can do it faster, cheaper. You can also do it in a way, though, where everybody is partnering and collaborating in a way that you're creating more value for that end customer and thereby appropriating more margins for everybody in that supply chain. Number 5, we're looking at green and sustainability. This is a relatively new area, and the idea here is, are manufacturers going to take a look at how they're going to develop, manufacture, deliver new products that provide superior performance while minimizing their impact on the environment and minimizing their use of energy going forward? This is important not just in terms of customers wanting green right now or customers or regulatory agencies wanting sustainability. It's also important because when we look at companies that are doing great things right now with green and sustainability, they are typically finding that if they do it in the right way, it actually makes them more efficient, makes them a better company. Finally, the 6th, and I guess I have to use 2 hands for this, number 6, we're looking at global engagement. Are manufacturing companies reaching beyond their local markets, not just for sales, but for talent, for ideas, for innovation? Are they able to secure an advantage by creating partnerships that go across boundaries, not just industry boundaries, but country boundaries, continental boundaries? And are they able to build themselves going forward in a way that they are engaging the world in a meaningful way? So, how do you study that? What do we do? Well, this study that I mentioned earlier, the Next Generation Manufacturing Study, done across the United States, there were 18 different manufacturing extension partnerships, a whole bunch of others getting involved. What we wanted to do was to figure out, first of all, what were the strategies, and those are the 6 that we came up with, that were necessary for world-class performance. Now, We then went out and did a study, tremendous results. Over 2,500 manufacturers from across the United States participated, and we're talking manufacturers of every size, from every industry, from every region, participated across the country. What we tried to measure here were how aware are manufacturers right now of these 6 strategies, what progress they had made in implementing best practices or investing in those strategies, and what success were they having in moving forward into the next generation of manufacturing, achieving operational and financial goals. Now, it's really interesting there because you might take a look at these, and if you might think, well, those are 6 fairly obvious strategies. Is everyone doing well at those? What we found is that there were absolutely stark contrasts in performance. Just one example. What we were able to do within this study, for example, is figure out who's doing world-class or as close or at or near world-class performance in any one of the given strategies, and those who were furthest from it. But when you look at the entire study as a whole, one of the interesting findings we found is that 11% of all manufacturers in the U.S. have a value add per employee, and that's just very simply you're getting raw materials in. What value are you adding to that before you take it out to customers on a per employee basis? 11% of manufacturers have a value add per employee of $175,000 per year. That's a very good number. When you're working with clients out there, when you're talking with people, if anybody reports a number like that, that's a terrific result across industries. Now, issue is that was only 11%. We found that 35%, over a third of the study, had a value add per employee of under $75,000 or under per year. Now, that difference there, that $100,000 difference between the top performers and the lower performers, over the last 2 years, the recent unpleasantness in the economy, could be the difference between survival and certainly is the difference between having a good year and not having a good year. We found this across the board. And the important thing to remember here is that when you look at manufacturers, there are people across a performance range, regardless of industry, regardless of size. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is that the manufacturers that you're going to be talking to across this wide range, you're going to see a huge number of them who face a next generation manufacturing gap. And what I mean by that is that because we were able to figure out who was closest to world class in a given next generation strategy, whether it's customer focused innovation or supply chain management, and those who were furthest from being world class, what we found is that less than half of all US manufacturers were world class in any given strategy. So for example, say supply chain management, less than half of manufacturers were anywhere near world class in that. And this is good news and bad news. The good news is it means that for each of the 6 strategies, there are people out there who are achieving world-class results who can compete with manufacturers anywhere in the world. And that's an important message here, because one of the messages out of this study is the fact that just because you're a U.S. manufacturer, just because you're in any established manufacturing economy, you can compete with anybody in the world. And we've got great examples of that locally, nationally, all around the country. The bad news for this is that we had so many manufacturers who are so far from world class. For example, we had 9% of all manufacturers who had made absolutely no progress toward being world class in supply chain management, and this held up across the study. So you've got a few who are doing pretty well in any one of these strategies, but you've got the vast majority who need some help and who need some assistance and who are looking for assistance from anybody they can get it from. So the question then becomes, with any study like this as well, are you just telling us that, well, there's a problem, there's some issues here, or is there a path forward? And there very clearly is a path forward, because we did find so many manufacturers who were doing well in at least one of the strategies. And when we took a look at those manufacturers and took a look at, well, are they not just performing well, what are they doing differently? What we found is that for any of the 6 strategies, when we had these people who were at or near world-class performance, in general, they did 3 things differently. And those 3 things were, first of all, they invested more time and effort into that particular strategy. They focused on it, okay? The second thing they did is they tended to adopt what would generally be considered to be best practices, or to invest in things like information technology or other technologies for that. They invested in those technologies. They adopted best practices at far higher rates than those who were farther away from being world class. And the third thing they did is that they outperformed on a wide array of measures in each one of those strategies. So the great news here is that if you're a U.S. manufacturer, you absolutely can be competitive with anybody in the world, but you do have to focus on these strategies and you do have to operate perhaps in different ways than you've operated before.